If you search online for sarcopenia treatment, you're going to find supplements claiming to support cellular health, boost longevity pathways, and preserve muscle mass. Some of those products are legit, most are not. Brand new research can help us tell the difference. I'm Tom Smoot, your favorite biomedical engineer and former special operations soldier. I'm also 50, so sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss, is something I talk about even when I'm not on YouTube. I read the research and of course I get the ads. Let's translate some of the research so you don't get sold something that can't work. So a study published in Nature Metabolism recently identified this specific cellular system that fails when muscles age. It's not what most people think of when they hear cellular health or autophagy. Understanding this will save you money and keep you from being a victim of fake marketing claims from an unregulated industry. But here's what makes this even more important. Sarcopenia is just one type of change that happens to our bodies over time. First up is the research. Scientists recently found that as mice aged, a specific cellular cleaning system declined by about half. That decline wasn't just correlated with muscle loss, it was causing the muscle loss. How do we know? Well, when they genetically restored this system in old mice, the muscle weakness reversed. And when they blocked it in young mice, those mice aged prematurely. The system they manipulated is called Chaperone-Mediated Autophagy, or CMA for short. We need to be very clear about this up front. CMA is not normal autophagy. Here's why CMA matters specifically for muscle. Our muscle cells are under constant mechanical stress, and proteins get damaged all the time because of that stress. Not destroyed, just degraded. They're still technically functional, but they lost quality. So let's call CMA a quality control system. Picture a factory line with thousands of proteins moving through the cell. CMA identifies the ones that are slightly damaged, or damaged just enough to cause problems, and tags them for recycling. Those tagged proteins get sent to the cell's breakdown machinery called the lysosome. That's where they're disassembled and their components are reused. When you're young, CMA does its job. Damaged proteins get identified, recycled, and replaced. But as you age, CMA slows down. The damaged proteins start slipping through untagged. Then they accumulate in the cell, and that's when the structural damage begins. Macroautophagy, which is the type of autophagy that fasting or most supplements claim to boost, is different. Let's call it bulk recycling. It clears out entire damaged structures inside the cell, like old mitochondria. It's essential, but not precise enough to handle the protein level quality control that muscles need. And here's a critical point that invalidates so many supplements on the market. This study showed that when CMA fails in aging muscle, macroautophagy cannot compensate. Boosting the bulk recycling isn't a fix. That's when you need the type of quality control that happens with this CMA process. So if a product just generically claims to boost autophagy or support cellular recycling, it's almost certainly not what you want to waste your money on. Why do I say that? Well, let's look at what actually goes wrong when CMA fails. The study identified 2 catastrophic failures. 2. Both happen before you ever notice any muscle shrinkage. First, there's the structural breakdown. This is when CMA slows down. A specific protein called SERCA starts to accumulate. And SERCA manages the calcium signaling that tells your muscles to contract and relax. We need it every time we squeeze a muscle. But when damaged SERCA piles up, it doesn't just sit there harmlessly. It forms these tubular aggregates. These are disorganized clumps of proteins that clog the internal structure of the muscle cell. When this happens, your muscles don't contract as efficiently. You'll lose strength before you lose size. Beyond the issue with SERCA, we also start to see a muscle generation dilemma. You see, muscle repair depends on muscle stem cells, and when CMA fails in these stem cells, they can't proliferate or reproduce effectively. Why? Because when CMA fails, it triggers a metabolic shift. The cells get trapped in a state where they can't generate enough ATP, or the cellular energy it uses to divide and expand. So even when your muscle cells get damaged from training or injury, that repair system is offline. It's this combination of SERCA buildup and failing muscle stem cells that becomes the root of the problem when we look at sarcopenia from a molecular level. At least that's what the research is telling us. So how do they prove their theory? Well, this is fairly simple to do in a lab. Under controlled conditions, they boosted CMA in old mice using 2 methods. First, they genetically engineered the mice to overexpress a protein called LAMP2 alpha. It's the protein that drives CMA. This single genetic intervention reversed the muscle weakness and fixed the structural damage. Second, they used a compound called QX77 to target a receptor pathway that enhances CMA. When they gave it to old mice, it significantly improved muscle regeneration after injury. So I mentioned this is easy to do in a lab, and I really need to say it again. QX77 is a lab chemical. Researchers can order from chemical suppliers like Sigma Aldrich for laboratory experiments. It's not a supplement. It's not being developed as a drug. It's not in clinical trials. It's not available for human consumption. It's just a small molecule research tool designed to answer a scientific question in a controlled laboratory setting. If you take anything away from this, that's it. Remember it when you see those supplement ads. Supplement companies love throwing vague language at you that skirts the rules and regulations. The ads I see say things like cellular cleansing, detoxification support, or helps flush cellular waste, or supports natural cellular renewal. These are all counting on you to connect the dots. Even if you read research about cellular cleanup systems and muscle aging, if you see a product that claims to cleanse your cells, they hope you assume it must be targeting the same mechanism. And here's my bigger problem. This doesn't just apply to muscle loss, longevity, or the natural process of aging. We see this pattern across the supplement industry. So let's talk about how women age differently before I tell you why it matters to men too. The problem is more pronounced in women, which makes it a great example of companies trying to prey on the fear that women have about their own bodies. CMA isn't just about muscle. The same quality control system operates in bone cells. Osteoblasts and osteoclasts are the cells that build and break down bone tissue. When CMA declines with age, bone remodeling becomes less efficient. Damaged proteins accumulate, bone density decreases. It's a very basic overview of osteoporosis at the cellular level, at least. And just like with muscle supplements, you'll see products claiming to support bone cell renewal or promote healthy bone turnover using the exact same playbook. Vague language, no real rules about marketing, and certainly no consequences for lying to us. Here's what I need every man watching this to understand. When it comes to age-related physiological decline, we're dealing with one major shift. Testosterone starts dropping gradually around maybe age 30, and by 50, we're managing a hormonal transition and its effects on the muscle and bone. Women, however, are not that lucky. They deal with something far more complex and experience one major hormonal shift around age 50. Women experience cyclical hormonal shifts monthly from puberty through menopause. That's decades of physiological stress. Then there's a more dangerous decline, and let me break down what that actually means. Every menstrual cycle, women go through a luteal phase where progesterone surges, then crashes. This affects energy metabolism, protein synthesis, bone remodeling, and fluid retention. Then the uterine lining sheds because menstruation is sort of this inflammatory process that requires tissue repair and immune activation. That happens monthly for 30 to 40 years, and men rarely hear about it. Across those decades, bone density is already being maintained through a more complex hormonal balance than men deal with. Then menopause hits. Estrogen drops sharply. And like men's gradual testosterone decline, this is a cliff. Bone density can drop 10 to 20% in the first 5 years after menopause. The risks of osteoporosis skyrocket, and the supplement industry targets this vulnerability with the same exact tactics because it works. They know how terrifying this can be for women. And dudes, this matters to you too. You just don't know it yet. I won't get into the fact that men need estrogen too. We'll save that for another video. Just know it's a fact. Anyway, regardless of gender, 1 out of 4 people over 65 will have a slip and fall each year. It's just that 1 of 2, yes, half of those women will break a bone. So when we talk about age-related decline in general, we need to discuss more honest marketing and what actually works. The fact is, evidence-based interventions are the same boring answers, and it doesn't sell supplements. So what actually works? Let's talk about muscle first, then bone, because the pattern is consistent. For sarcopenia, your body needs resistance training and higher protein intake. Exercise activates the CMA, and protein provides the raw materials for muscle synthesis. Some of those guidelines are changing, and to be honest, it's getting harder to know who you can trust. I'm going to go with the American Heart Association. They recommend 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. Let me do the math for you because I'm supposed to be good at it as an engineer, but under those guidelines, 150-pound person needs at least 100 grams of protein every day. That's about a quarter pound, and I'll also agree with the Heart Association. You shouldn't get that exclusively from red meat. When it comes to bones and osteoporosis, you need weight-bearing exercise. That means walking, running, resistance training, along with adequate calcium and vitamin D. The mechanical stress from weight-bearing activity signals bone cells to maintain their density. Calcium and vitamin D are the essential parts for bone remodeling. These aren't sold as breakthroughs because the profit margin on a gallon of milk just isn't the same as the magic beans people are trying to sell you. The real issue is we need to make a behavior change, not a purchase. That's what the clinical evidence supports. So look, here's the reality. If you're a man watching this, the interventions for muscle and bone are straightforward. Start now, stay consistent, you'll manage the decline. If you're a woman, or if you have women in your life you care about, understand the physiological demands are higher. Monthly hormonal cycling requires more attention to nutrients, recovery, and training. After menopause starts, the bone health interventions honestly aren't optional. Supplement industry knows this and they exploit it ruthlessly. The best thing you can do for yourself or the women in your life is blow off the junk science and the marketing hype. Just do what works. But hey, before I wrap up here, if this helped you in any way, mash those buttons to like and follow along. It honestly costs you nothing and it helps me and you both get this message to other people who might need it too. I'm not sharing some secret we need to hide. It's honestly well known in the medical research community. But the supplement industry counts on you not understanding the research. They count on you seeing Nature Metabolism in their marketing and assuming that means the product is validated. It doesn't mean that. Anyway, hope this helped you, or at least saved you from forking over a few dollars for something that's not going to do what the ad sold you. Thanks for watching.